G'day, how are you doing? Hopefully doing very well, keeping healthy and safe. I'm doing pretty sweet on this side of the desk. Today we're going to look at AMD's flagship laptop processor, which is the AMD Ryzen 9 7945HX processor. Now this is housed in this 17-inch gaming beast. Now this is the Asus ROG Strix Scar 17. As this is just big, and not only is it just big, it is absolutely insanely fast. This is top spec. This also backed with the NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4090. Now, if you want to disable the discrete graphics, don't worry about that. AMD's got you covered. It's also got the Radeon 610M graphics, which is really decent. You can even play AAA games on medium settings on the onboard graphics if you decide to actually disable that insanely powerful discrete graphics. So absolutely fantastic. Now we're going to look at the temperatures and fan noise. We're also going to have a look at the internals and some of the features of this computer while we're at it. Now if you stick near closer to the end, there may be actually a special announcement. And let's get on the show on the road. The display is a 17.3-inch IPS wide quad HD display, which means it has an aspect ratio of 16:9. That means it is widely supported by a lot of games. Now it does have a matte style finish to the display, so that's the anti-glare, which makes it very good in outdoors and also indoors as well. You won't have that glare, and it has that very fast refresh rate of 240 Hz for gaming. And when I tested out the UFO ghosting test, I found some slight ghosting, but I find that actually quite good. Now, for those that's asking, it does have a mux switch as well in this Scar 17. Measuring the color gamut coverage of the wide quad HD display, it resulted with 99.9% sRGB coverage, 84.3% Adobe RGB coverage, 97.9% DCI-P3 coverage. The sides and also the top bezel is quite narrow, which gives that nice edge-to-edge look. And also I did not find much light bleeding around the edges. Looking at temperatures and fan noise, when I took my measurement, my ambient temperature in the room was 20 degrees Celsius. The ambient room noise also measured in at 35 decibels. Now, just before we get started, as always, just give you a reference point. Your average hand is anywhere between 33 to 35 degrees Celsius. So I took my base measurement when the computer was idle, and the hottest air around the keyboard measured a maximum of 26 degrees Celsius. Now this is a new record for this channel, as I've never had a laptop run this cool at idle before. And the fan noise measured in at 35 decibels. So that's practically quiet, but you do hear it if you put your ear very close, you do hear the fan is spinning a little bit. And the average internal core temperature was 43 degrees Celsius. Then I put 20% load on the computer, which pretty much average use. So that's tasks like office productivity work, surfing web, streaming video, and the hottest area around the keyboard measured a maximum of 34 degrees Celsius. And as for the fan noise, it also measured in a maximum of 35 decibels. And the average internal core temperature was 60 degrees Celsius. Then I put 50% load on the computer, and the hottest area around the keyboard measured a maximum of 38 degrees Celsius. As for the fan noise, spun all the way up to 36 decibels, and the average internal core temperature was 87 degrees Celsius. Then I put 100% load on the computer, and the hottest air around the keyboard measured a maximum of 41 degrees Celsius. And as for the fan noise, spun all the way up to 38 decibels, and the average internal core temperature was 94 degrees Celsius. Now, while I had 100% load, I put the computer in performance profile in the Asus Armor Crate, and the hottest area around the keyboard measured a maximum of 36 degrees Celsius. And as for the fan noise, it spun all the way up to a maximum of 45 decibels. And the average internal temperature also stayed at 94 degrees Celsius. Then I put the computer in turbo profile mode, letting the computer release its full potential. And the hottest air around the keyboard measured a maximum of 35 degrees Celsius. And as for the fan noise, it spun all the way up to a maximum of 53 degrees Celsius. And the average internal core temperature was 96 degrees Celsius. I also measured the bottom back cover while I was in performance profile mode, and the hottest air around the back cover measured a maximum of 38 degrees Celsius. And of course, the fan noise stayed at 45 decibels. seeing the results while also hearing and feeling the actual temperature and fan noise while testing, I was absolutely insanely mind blown by how cool this laptop is. The fact that it actually has probably the most powerful AMD processor in there, and also one of the most powerful discrete graphics in this laptop to date at the moment, that should actually produce the most amount of heat. Yet implementation of the thermal solution from Asus is absolutely insanely done. Fantastic. It's the best way I can say. I was mind blown how cool this laptop is. And also, even while this computer is running at 100% fan noise, it is, what do I say, loud, but it's not that crazy annoying. I've had a little bit of an 18-inch laptop which was even louder, and it actually had a much higher pitch. Now this is actually doing all right, and I think you guys should quite happily play games while having this in turbo mode, while having headphones. But geez, I've got to give a big bow and my hats off to Asus for doing such an amazing, crazy job at the thermal solution on this Scar 17. Oof, fantastic work, guys. The Scar 17 comes with a 90 watt-hour battery, and I managed to get 3 hours and 10 minutes for the Modern Office battery life test in PC Mark 10, 1 hour and 17 minutes for gaming, and 3 hours and 40 minutes for video playback. I would consider this pretty much average compared to other gaming laptops, and pretty much you'll be mostly likely plugging this computer into mains power most of the time. There are 2 speakers located on either side of the laptop. When I tested out the maximum volume of speakers, it managed to measure a peak of 84.7 decibels. Now I actually consider this probably in the middle range compared to other laptops. Considering this is an indoor computer, more than likely it's be absolute fine. Now as for the sound quality of speakers, now this is quite a surprise compared to other gaming laptops. It's got lots of bass, and it's got that deep bass as well. Now as for the balance, it is even balanced towards the lows, but we still have very clear mids and highs. Even when at the maximum volume, it's still very crystal clear. It's got nice reverb and also acoustics, but yeah, definitely the bass on this is very nice, probably for FPS games, and also very bassy music, which most gamers would love. So this is actually a bit of a surprise. It has some pretty decent speakers for a gaming laptop, and it is also coming from a 2-speaker system, which is very impressive there. I also have a video that compares the audio sample from this Scar 17 with the Alienware M18 and also the ZenBook S13. If you haven't checked that video, I'll put a link in the description below. Now, how's the build construction of this? This thing is just solid. Hell, without even trying to hide anything from this thing is completely made of plastic. I'm not going to use any scientific name for it, plastic. And it is pretty much plastic on the top, on the bottom, and also on the palm rest, which is very, very smooth. It's silky, silky smooth. Now, it does grab quite a bit of finger marks, but I think overall I've got used to the finger marks on it. But man, this thing is just silky smooth across even the palm rest and also the trackpad. It's just for, and I think even over duration, a long duration of many years, it's gonna feel the exact same. I don't think it's even gonna wear and tear at all, just because it's pretty much that stage ready, and just don't feel it. It's just absolute fun. Now I know some of you love this part of this section of the video where I actually do the bend test, so I'm going to do it. I don't think I'm going to achieve very much because this thing is just that solid. Oh, Jesus. Oof. Now this thing doesn't even bend. And as always, I'm just going to try and get the keyboard. Let's see if the keyboard flex. That is just strong. That is so solid. It's going to take a few number of bricks on there to even do any harm to it. Now, I will be doing the 1 finger test. So here we go for the Hinge, and that is absolute smooth all the way through, and you're doing about about 120 degrees for the lid. Now with the Hinge, I'm just going to do the quick wiggle test. Now I can see there's just a little bit of a gap, so it's holding completely just gapping, but this is not something you would do with this laptop. Anyway, I don't want to be transporting this gap, but just to let you know, there is just a little release from there. Now the actual Hinge itself, it's really thick and also very solidly built. Now that is very tough and plastic. I can tell that is not, I wouldn't say that is metal. That That is really thick. That's gonna, and I can see that's gonna, I can do that for a while. That's no problems at all. That will be able to handle a lot of actuations there. No problems at all. Absolute fantastic there. The keyboard is a full-size keyboard with a number pad on the right. Now, each individual key has a very strong tactile feel. We actually have very fast recoil after depressing, and actually bounces back to original position very fast. This is absolutely fantastic for gaming. Now, it is also got a very smooth surface to each individual key, and they've got nice spacing in between. Now, I call these medium-sized keys as well, and they are RGB backlit, and they are individual backlit on each one, which makes them very nice, especially when you get into this rainbow spectrum. And there are 4 settings for the backlight: off, low, medium, and high. The trackpad is a mechanical trackpad, which means it's hinged at the top and can depress even at the top all the way down to the very bottom. Now, it has a very silky, smooth texture to the surface. It's a glass-like feel to it, and it's also multi-gesture. Very nice to use, and I can definitely hear the actual nice sounding of the actuation on the trackpad. These are the results of the benchmarks performed on the Scar 17. This one's configured with a AMD Ryzen 9 7945HX processor with 32 gigs RAM, 1TB SSD, and also the GeForce RTX 4090. Here's the results for Passmark, Citybench R23, PC Mark, 3D Mark, Geekbench 6, Crystal Disk Mark, Procon Office, Procon Machine Learning, Procon Photo Edit, Procon Video Edit, Pugin Photoshop, Pugin Lightroom, Pugin Premiere Pro, Pugin After Effects, Pugin DaVinci Resolve, Blender, Luxmark, Furmark, Octane Bench, Eugene Engine, and Spec View Pref. And some gaming benchmarks like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Far Cry 6, Cyberpunk 2077, and F1 2022. Let's have a look at internals. First off, we got the 90 watt hour battery. Now the battery connector is right here. If you need to disconnect the battery during troubleshooting power issues, or if you're just working on doing some upgrade, good idea to disconnect the battery. Now above the battery is 2 SODIMM slots for the memory or the RAM, and they are covered by the heat shield. So I'll just show you that. It's really nice that I've actually put the heat shield there. And then on the left hand side, again, this is wrapped with a little bit of heat shield, is the primary storage. Now it is an M.2 NVMe, and this is a 2280 format. Now there is a secondary NVMe slot which also can take in 2280 format, which starts from here and it goes down here. Now it's very hard to visualize, so I'm just going to bring 2280 format just so you can see where that slots in. Now the screw is here. I'm not going to screw in, just an idea of where that lays for the upgrade later on. Now underneath the primary storage is the Bluetooth Wi-Fi module, which sits right here, which is held in by a screw. And then we've also got the vapor chamber for the cooling. We've got the processor underneath here. We've also got the discrete graphics. Nice to see they've labeled it and made a noise here. And we've got 2 system fans. Now how the airflow works is it goes in from the bottom and then it flows out from the sides and also to the rear, but mostly to the sides. I've mostly noticed then the rear, but it does flow from all 4. Overall, I was mind blown by the actual high performance from this ROG Strix Scar 17. It was just performing way out there. Whoa! I had a larger laptop than this one, which is the Alienware M18, and that was crazy performance. But this one, oh, man, tops to AMD for this crazy Ryzen 9 7945HX processor, and I did say there was an announcement for it, and that is while filming this, AMD did announce to me they're producing a 3D cache version of that 7945HX processor. Whoa! That means more performance, more frame rates for games. And jeez, now that will, hopefully the embargo is finished by the time I publish this video. You'll actually get to see that. Now that will also be in another Strix Scar 17. I will be getting that model later in the coming months, and I will be testing that out. But at the moment, I just can't find that to compute with my head, how fast that's going to be. Absolutely insane. Now we do have absolutely insane, also crazy, well dealt temperatures, even though the processor was running right up there and it was very stable. But Asus has done an absolute fantastic job on the thermal solution, as really I can't say any better than this, is that I didn't feel much heat coming from this. You can touch this while this had 100% load, even in performance mode. I wasn't even putting in turbo mode. I just did not feel much of the heat. This thing was just completely touchable. Oh, absolutely insane. Like, I was just, oof, geez, this thing is really cool. And it's got the most powerful components, even a 4090, which runs really hot. And this thing was like, yeah, that's right. You can run as hot as you want. I'll just expel heat. And even then, the fan noise, it is loud, but not crazy loud way. It's actually very distracting. I was like, oof, this is absolute. So absolute tops, and kudos to Asus for producing one of the best thermal solutions I've had in any of the laptops on this channel. Whew, well done, Asus. Now, we also, besides the great temperatures and fan noise, we also have some very nice speakers that actually are very basic. We're absolutely fantastic for games who love the games, and with nice gunshots for FPS games. Even when I was playing games, I loved hearing those nice basic music, which is absolutely fantastic. Good screen, good keyboard, RGB lights to keep all the gamers happy. You just can't say anything bad enough for this thing. Absolute fantastic laptop. Now, I hope you find this video informative and enjoyed it. If you did, even support my channel, smash that like button for me, and also share this video. It does help me out. And as always, imperfections in life makes it beautiful and interesting. And I'll see you next video.